A very busy day for the St. Louis Blues with trades, extensions, and more. This is all coming up here on Locked on Blues.
You're Locked on Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and welcome back to Locked on Blues. I am your host of Locked on Blues, Haley Taylor Simon, talking to you all things about our St. Louis Blues here, a part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. Today on Locked on Blues, I will be talking about Pavel Buchnevich's extension that he signed today, trades that made sense that took place today. Yes, that is correct. The St. Louis Blues actually made some trades and development camp, and my biggest takeaways, aka Dvorsky, obviously. Before I go any further into today's episode, I just want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more as playoffs wind down. The sports stop sporting like we want them to. But this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right, there's something for everyone every day all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Today was a very busy day for the St. Louis Blues. It is currently 7 o'clock, and I have to tell you, I felt like I was refreshing my phone all day due to all the news that was breaking. We had the schedule release. I didn't even mention that. That happened today, and I'll talk about something that I find really stupid about it. But most importantly is Pavel Buchnevich's extension. We all know this was in the talks as Doug Armstrong hinted at it, that this is something that he wanted to do, and I felt like it was going to happen anytime now. So now it is official with Pavel Buchnevich to a 6-year contract extension worth $48 million. And I have to tell you, I am actually very pleased with this one. The reason why is this. It's 6 years, which is going to take you until the 2030-2031 season. So most likely the rest of his career will be here with St. Louis. I think the number is fair. Honestly, 48 for those years, that's fine. Pay him what he deserves. He's obviously a great first liner, and it's going to be 8 mil AAV, so not bad. The extension actually begins, though, with the 2025-2026 season, just so you know. So right now he is 29 years old, and we got Bush back in July of 2021 from the New York Rangers. I have to tell you, though, in the 216 regular season games that he played with the Blues, and he ranks third on team points with 206 points. Okay, second in goals with 83 and second in assists with 123. He has been absolutely impressive. He is one of the 22 NHL players overall with at least 200 points and a plus 45 rating since 2021-2022. Last season, though, Bush collected 27 goals and 36 assists. So not bad at all. It could be better, but honestly, right now, it is what it is. I'm just really impressed with how he's been playing. And this makes sense for the Blues. This really does. The numbers, it makes sense. Now, I want to know what you think. Are you happy about this personally? I think that he deserves to be paid. I know there's people that are going to make arguments, oh, it's too much money. But, I mean, think about it. What you're getting out of him is worth the money. He is a hard worker. He can generate plays. He's able to score. Great hockey IQ. Overall, he is a great player. And the other thing about him, too, is that he does have that veteran presence in the locker room, and he is a good leader off and on the ice. So putting all things, aside from, the money, you don't want him to go, so you had to make him stay. And I feel like that contract is very fair. When I spoke to Buchnevich last season, he's just such a focused player, and I think that really did take away from how you see him on the ice. You see a guy on the ice that is able to generate, as I said. And that first line is lucky to have him. So obviously, if you're looking to potentially get back into the playoffs, because wouldn't that be nice? You have to pay the guy, right? And I think that right now, too, the entire, NHL knew that this was going to happen. I mean, I feel like the only thing I will say this though is 6 years makes me a little nervous because I'm like, okay, well, it's going to be a 6-year extension, not this season, but beginning next season. So then he'll be what, like 36? Now, it is possible for him, right, to still be a really good player then. Maybe I would have gone with 4. Maybe I wouldn't have gone with the full 6. But at the end of the day, as I said, this is going to most likely take him to the end of his career. And I just feel like this was a really good move. And there's going to be people that are going to disagree with me and with what I'm saying. He's too old. He's not good enough. I don't want to hear it. The Blues, needed him. And there's people that are saying with the money. I even got that today. Oh, he's 5 million, not 8 million. I understand that there was frustration. And I understand that you think that there's money being wasted. But at the end of the day, the money that is being wasted is re-signing guys like Kapanen. It's like having awful contracts with Torrey Krug. This is not a bad contract because you know what you're getting out of Pavel Buchnevich. You're getting a hard worker, a guy that can generate points and plays. You're not getting a guy that's a liability. And you know what? I know that there's all the I messed it up. No trade clause, no move clauses. I know that he has all that established, but he deserves it. Like, he honestly is one of the players that deserves it. I know I talk a lot about how Doug is so willing to give out those no trade clauses, but when it comes to a player like Pavel Buchnevich, who is well respected in the NHL and is a really good player for this organization, he respects it. I think the problem is that the Blues did have a lot of really bad contracts in the past couple of years, and now I feel like whenever there's a contract, it just seems like it's not good. But this one isn't a bad contract. I think it's very fair and very reasonable. Now, with the age thing, because that is important and that is something that I wanted to bring up. At what point is it where you say, you know what? I think that it's better if we negotiate for maybe 4 years and then reevaluate. They could have had that conversation. We don't know if they had that conversation. I don't know if anybody even asked if they had that conversation, but I am curious about that. I think that 6 years does seem a little bit long for a 29-year-old, especially when it doesn't begin until next season. So he'll be 30 when it begins. But as I said, you see tons of guys in the NHL that are in their mid 30s that can still play and that are still performing well. I mean, we're seeing guys like Steven Stamkos who signed a 4-year, I want to say, with the Nashville Predators. And if I'm not mistaken about Steven Stamkos, he is 34 years old right now. So that's going to take him until he's 38. So again, I'm seeing backlash. I mean, I'm not a Predators. I'm a Blues fan, obviously, but I'm just using this as a comparison that I've seen a lot of backlash on that one. Oh, he's going to be too old by the time it's done. Well, there's a reason why these teams are signing these type of players, and some players can play a little bit later into age. And I just want to say this too, because whenever I talk about age, I feel like I get comments, are you calling me old at 38? No, I am not calling you old at 38. But in hockey, that is old. I think hockey is one of those sports where even when you're in your mid-20s, you get considered to be an older guy. So it's one of those sports where you have to take it with a grain of salt. The older you get, the more people are going to complain when you get those extensions. But for Pavel Buchnevich, I don't think anybody looks at him and thinks, oh, yeah, he's an older player. I think that they look at him as a veteran player. But the way that he plays, it's still like he's in his prime. And he still has so much left to give. And I know Pavel Buchnevich is cup hungry. I feel like that's the mindset of a lot of these hockey players, but this focus that he has is insane. And when they were pushing for the playoffs this past season, I said this then and I'll say it now. He was the most focused player I spoke to besides Binnington, but he just had this focus about him. And I think that translates on the ice with how well he does play. I think this was a really good move for the St. Louis Blues. I think that the money, honestly, he deserves it. A couple million difference. I know for you and I, that might be a lot of money, but for these organizations, it's really not that much of a difference for them. and you have a veteran guy that is a really good hockey player, a strong hockey IQ on the ice, and is able to really read the rink well and help out his teammates, be a good mentor. I don't see anything wrong with this. Now, if it was a couple, if it was, let's go say like 43 million over the course, okay, I could say, okay, this makes perfect sense, but a couple million over isn't going to make me that angry for a guy like Pavel Buchnevich. I never wanted the Blues to trade him. I know people did, and people probably want the opposite of everything this team does, which I get, it happens, but I think for what it was, this was a fine contract, and I'm excited to see what he does now. I mean, he's locked in literally to the St. Louis Blues, so he better give it his all, and I know that he will, and that's the thing about him. So congratulations to Pavel Buchnevich today for that contract extension. I want to talk to my friends over at FanDuel. I love sports. I love them so much, and I never want them to stop. But as far as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games, and the sports aren't sporting the way that I would like them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right, there's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. I also want to give a birthday shout out today to Robert Thomas. We always know it's Robert Thomas season here in this podcast. And Robert Thomas is currently my favorite St. Louis Blues player. And there's nothing I can say except good things about him. But I have a very busy episode today. But he is now 25 years old. And I hope he's having a great day and doing whatever Robert Thomas does on the off season. I have no idea what he does, but I hope he's having a good day. Okay, let's go talk about some trades. So I know yesterday I was a little disappointed with the lack of movement that happened with the St. Louis Blues because they did absolutely nothing. I was a little discouraged because I feel like I kind of just was sitting around waiting for the Blues to make some trades to do something. And today it seemed like they finally did. So the St. Louis Blues, they made, besides the Buchnevich extension, they made 3 other moves. So let me tell you about the moves that they make. So the St. Louis Blues today, they signed from the Montreal Canadiens, Schumann to a 1-year 2-way contract with the Blues. So it is $775,000 NHL and then $400,000 AHL. All was the difference between the NHL and AHL, by the way. So when you see those prices, just know there are 2 different pay grades for that. 20 years old, appeared in 64 regular season games with the AHL's Colorado Eagles last season with 22 points, 4 goals, 18 assists, and 24 penalty minutes. He's definitely an AHL type of player, so this will be good for the T-Birds. I don't expect him to make the NHL. I think, Corey Shulaman, he's a fine player, but he's probably not going to make the main roster. So expect him down in Springfield. Nothing wrong with the AHL, by the way. I just want to put it that way. I just can't see him making this team with how competitive it's going to be. So the Blues also did some other things today. So they got Fosca from Dallas and Joseph from Ottawa. So let's go talk more about it. Faxa, 30 years old, 74 regular season games with the Stars last season, 19 points, 7 goals, and 12 assists, and 20 penalty minutes. He contributed a goal in 8 playoff appearances. So let's go see. He was drafted by the Stars the first round, 13th overall in the 2012 NHL draft, and he spent all 9 years in Dallas. So for me, what's my takeaway? I knew of him. He's actually a fine player. Again, adding depth to the roster is a good thing. 30 years old, a little concerning in age. But, I mean, last season, it's not like he did anything that was that impressive. 19 points doesn't do it for me, but it's fine. Overall, though, he has 200 points, 89 goals, and 111 assists, and 356 penalty minutes in 638 regular season games. 20 points, 9 goals, 11 assists, 28 penalty minutes in 79 postseason games. The one thing I will say about that, at least he has some season experience. So then let's talk about Joseph. 27 played in 72 regular season games with the Senators last season with 35 points, 11 goals, 24 assists, and 51 penalty minutes. He was originally drafted by the Lightning in the 4th round at 120 overall in the 2015 draft. Overall, though, he has 135 points, 55 goals, 80 assists, and 168 penalty minutes in 360 career regular season games. He has made 10 career postseason appearances, and he is actually a cup champ when the Lightning won in 2021. So today, by the way, for Joseph, the Blues received Joseph in a 2025 third round pick. So remember when we gave, a pick away from, us to Pittsburgh for, the whole Kevin Hayes trade? Well, we get a pick, and Ottawa receives future considerations. So shout out to future considerations. And then for us, with Fosca, we receive him, and Dallas receives future considerations. So future considerations, I know it's been a tough day for you, and I am so sorry about having to give you away. But at the same time, thank you for what we got. We got basically a steal in return. So I'm not like mad about this. I definitely think though that these moves are definitely 4th and 3rd line type of moves. Especially for Fosca. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, they're not awful moves, okay? I think that, Doug Armstrong, he said he's going to be more active during today. And I see why. But again, the most important thing is that extension. That extension is so, so, so important. And I think that the extension overall is basically the highlight of today. I think that that extension really does highlight, though, what the Blues were wanting to do. And that money that they spent today was, obviously Pavel Buchnevich. So not bad, but again, 3rd and 4th line type of moves. Nothing about today screams these two guys will be anything higher than that, which is fine. Add the def in, get guys with experience, whatever. It's not the end of the world. The one thing I will say, though, about trades, and those trades made sense because we didn't really give anything away, right? So you can't be mad about it. But something happened today that I thought was really interesting. So an updated list came out with, players after day 2 of free agency that were still available. And I'm not going to talk about Joe Pavelski because he's basically retired. I know it's not official yet, but he's basically retired. Vladimir Tarasenko is still on the list. And what I'm going to say about Vladdy is this. I know that he probably won't come back, do the whole requesting a trade. I get it. But he does probably want to be signed. I think it'd be a little bit ridiculous for the Blues to give him that much money. So I'm happy that they didn't do anything, especially day 1. I know other teams like New Jersey were interested in him. But to give him a 1 or 2 year contract for the right price, nothing too high, nothing too crazy, wouldn't be the worst thing. I mean, I'm looking at this list, right? You have Daniel Sprong, who would be maybe okay. You have James Aaron Riemsdyk, Tyler Johnson, Justin Schultz, Mike Hoffman, Philip Zadina. Oh, I always feel so bad. Kyle Paso, Blake Wheeler, Cal Clutterbuck. Like, you have guys on this list that I genuinely, or I think these are good dudes, but do I think any of them are worth signing? I don't think so. I think that all the moves that the Blues were going to make were probably made today. There's always those hypotheticals. Well, what if? But I think that, the plan for the Blues is to give these younger players a chance. And a big part of that, too, giving them a chance, is allowing them to have a roster spot. So as much as, we might say, oh, well, we want Vladdy back, it probably won't happen. Again, money is also a thing. You can't be overpaying these guys either just because, you like them when they were here. I talked about this before, and Vladimir Tarasenko was one of my favorite players. Why I wanted the Panthers to win the cup was because of him. But do I think that it's worth spending a lot of money to get him back? No. But for the right price, I wouldn't be upset. But I want to remind you all to subscribe to Here in Locked On Blues, where I talk everything about the St. Louis Blues. Like, the Blues are my life, and my life is consumed around the Blues. And I feel like today was just such a busy day for all of us. Like, I didn't even touch on the schedule stuff. Like, there's so much going on. But I want to remind you to subscribe on YouTube here on Locked On Blues. Twitter is at Locked On Blues. Like, just, follow, subscribe, and hang out, because you and I, we have something in common. That's Blues hockey. What do we talk about? Blues hockey. So let's talk about development camp. So the reason why this episode is filmed a little bit later is because of development camp. I was watching the blue and white scrimmage, and Dalibor Dvorský, oh my goodness, he had this one backhander that was absolute beaut. He is such a good player. And you can tell that he's made a lot of improvements. His confidence on the ice, his puck possession, his stick handling skills, his shooting. Everything about him screams to me, this guy is going to make the roster. I really do believe that. Somebody in the chat, we were talking back and forth, said, why wasn't he on the team last season? I genuinely believe that he did need another year of development. I just can't get over him. Dvorsky is just such a good player, and he is the future. I mean, that's my takeaway today. There's other guys at camp that, are exciting to watch. But Dvorsky, oh my goodness. You should have seen me when I'm watching this scrimmage. You should have seen me when I'm watching him play his drills. Like, this guy truly is what this team needs. So he did play, by the way, this past season with the Sudbury Wolves in the OHL. 52 games played, 45 goals, 43 assists, 88 points. He played in the Slovakia U20 World Junior Championships. The 5 games, 3 goals, 3 assists, 6 points. And overall, I just am so impressed with him. He also had 9 playoff games this year with 3 goals and 7 assists, so 10 points. I honestly, oh my goodness. Dalibor Dvorsky. I don't think I'm going to ever stop talking about him because he is that good. You have no idea, too, how fun it is to watch a guy that's going to be like a generational talent for this team. I mean, he was 10th overall for us in last year's draft. And I feel like once you go in the top 10, like, you're destined for greatness. And that's what he is. Speaking, by the way, of destined for greatness, Adam Juracek signed a 3-year ELC today. Oh my gosh. So that was our first round pick for this year's draft at 16th overall. I do have an exclusive one-on-one interview with him on this channel. So if you want to check that out, make sure to do so. But that was some good news for him. But yeah, at the end of the day, when you're thinking of a guy that is going to change the way that the Blues play hockey, it's Dvorsky. And I don't think anyone could shut up about him today. Like, when you watch him take the ice, and let me just say this, his presence on the ice is so known. The way that he strides when he skates, just everything about him, his shot is heavy. He just is such an intelligent guy. And while today was, a scrimmage, some drills, things like that, shootout drills, you just really got to see how good of a player he is when he showcases skills. And if that doesn't make you excited about the future of this team, I don't know what else will. Dvorsky is one of those players, and I know I talked about it, this past season. Oh, once he comes up, the Blues will be better. I genuinely believe that. Once he comes up and once he begins to play for the St. Louis Blues, which I do believe it's going to be this season, the Blues will be a significantly better team. Now, you might be wondering, Hale, where do you see him playing? Maybe second line. I really love the Blues' first line with Robert Thomas, Bush, and Neighbors. Maybe a second, but again, anything can shake up. I mean, he has to make the team first. That's number one. But after today, I know it's only one day, and I know I shouldn't be this excited, but I am. And part of being a fan is allowing myself to be excited about things like this, especially when we had a really tough season. Off season isn't perfect, but he is definitely the highlight right now of camp. So I was happy to watch him today. I will talk to you tomorrow because we have a lot to talk about, actually. Sometimes I wish this podcast was an hour because I just have so much to talk to you about with the Blues. But until then, I will see you tomorrow. And like always, let's go Blues.